Here's what nobody tells you about leaving a multi-six-figure roofing career. The first 30 days after walking away from those fat commission checks might just be the hardest thing you'll ever do. What's up, Roof Money Pros? Mike here with Roof Money Pro, and my mission is to help roofing professionals like you maximize your careers and build wealth. Now, before you click away thinking this guy's lost his mind, let me tell you something. I just did the unthinkable. I walked away from a roofing sales career that was pulling in multiple six figures. And today, I'm sharing exactly what the first 30 days after that decision looked like. The good, the bad, and everything in between. If you're crushing it in roofing but wondering what's next, or if you're thinking about your exit strategy, you need to stick around because what I'm about to share could change everything. And hey, if this content hits different and you want more real talk about building wealth in roofing, smash that subscribe button right now. Let me paint you a picture. 3.5 years ago, I was sitting in a cubicle at Rhino Roofers in San Antonio, Texas, working as a business analyst. But here's the backstory nobody knows. I had just made a major career transition myself. I went from being a licensed financial advisor to getting my feet wet in financial and business analytics. I had just earned my master's in finance, and I stumbled into working for a roofing startup by building dashboards, crunching KPIs, creating forecasts, and setting up CRMs, trying to gain that initial experience in the corporate analytics world. But here's why I discovered that changed everything. I wasn't just hired to crunch numbers. I was brought on specifically to manage and record the sales activity of roofing reps each week. And let me tell you what I saw that blew my mind. These sales reps had absolutely zero discipline. I'm talking about guys who would hang around the office all day, literally waiting for the phone to ring instead of going out and making things happen. Don't get me wrong, most of these guys were great people and were naturally likable. They could sell when opportunities came to them, and they did well enough to stay comfortable. But when I started digging into their data, I found something that shocked me. These guys were completely focused on short-term wins with zero long-term vision. I'm talking about customer files that hadn't been touched in months, zero follow-up routines, and leads going completely cold because nobody had a system. And the craziest part, they didn't even know they were losing money hand over fist. They were comfortable with their mediocre results because they never tracked their real potential. They had no idea how much revenue was walking out the door due to lack of follow-up and basic sales discipline. That's when it hit me. Here I am, someone with actual discipline and proven financial processes, watching these guys succeed despite having no systems whatsoever. I thought to myself, if they can make decent money with zero discipline, what can someone with my systematic approach accomplish? So I made the jump. I traded my salary for commission checks and my comfort zone for the wild world of roofing sales. But I brought something they didn't have: real discipline and the ability to track what actually matters. The next 3 years were absolutely insane. I'm talking about the kind of grind that separates pretenders from contenders. Early mornings, late nights, weekends that didn't exist, and of course more rejection than you think you can handle at first. You probably know this all too well. But here's the thing about roofing sales. When you figure out the system, when you blend those soft skills with sales tactics, magic happens. And I mean real magic. In those 3 years, I accomplished what most people spend decades trying to do. I paid off a $175,000 mortgage in just 16 months. Now let that sink in for a second. 16 months. While most people are making minimum payments and crying about interest rates, I was attacking my debt like it never stood a chance. But that wasn't even the best part. I also bought a fourplex that started generating passive income. My total sales income more than doubled. And get this, my net worth tripled. All because I understood something most roofing reps never figure out. It's not just about making money. It's about making money work for you. Here's what made the difference. I didn't just become another roofing rep, throwing proposals at walls and hoping something stuck. I combined my finance background with sales hustle to create systems that actually worked. I tracked everything: conversion rates, average contract values, seasonal patterns, you name it. Fast forward to 30 days ago, I made the decision that shocked everyone, including myself sometimes. I walked away from roofing sales. Not because I was failing, I was actually crushing it harder than ever, but because I had bigger plans brewing. But let me back up and tell you when I really knew the end was coming. It was last fall, and I had just crushed my best month of the year, over $450,000 in revenue with what I thought was one of my best conversion rates yet. I was feeling unstoppable, like everything was finally clicking perfectly. Then came the weekly sales meeting. After everyone else was filed out, my manager asked me to stay behind. What happened next still makes my blood boil. Instead of celebrating the nearly $500,000 month I just delivered, I got grilled about my performance. Specifically, they said my conversion rate was actually lower than expected and that I wasn't meeting their standards. Now here's the kicker. Not once had anyone approached me about this before. No coaching, no feedback, no guidance, nothing. Just a blindside attack on my performance right after my biggest month. And then they dropped the bomb. They were cutting my base salary. I walked out of that meeting feeling like I'd just been punched in the gut. But here's what really sealed the deal. That very next week, I went out and had a $130,000 week. You'd think I'd be pumped, right? Wrong. I felt absolutely nothing. No excitement, no rush, no thrill to chase. That's when I knew, with complete certainty, I had lost the fire that made me great at this job. That moment of crushing it and not caring was my wake-up call. The passion was gone. And once you lose that in sales, you're already dead in the water. But here's the thing about being disciplined. Even when you want to quit, you finish what you started. I couldn't just walk away at that moment, as much as I wanted to. I still had financial goals to hit. The house wasn't completely paid off yet, and I needed to build up serious cash reserves before making such a massive career change. So I did what I always do. I created a plan. I knew I had to stick it out, but I also knew I needed something to keep my sanity and reignite that creative spark that was dying in traditional sales. That's when it hit me in December. What if I took everything I had learned about personal finance and how I was applying it in my own life and started sharing it with people who were exactly where I used to be? People who were making great money in roofing but had no clue how to manage it properly. And that's how Roof Money Pro was born. It started as nothing more than a creative outlet, a simple weekly blog where I could share real financial strategies for roofing professionals. No grand plans, no business model, just me writing about the stuff I wish somebody had taught me when I first got into sales. But something interesting happened over those first few months. What started as a pet project began pulling at me harder than anything had in years. While I was going through the motions in roofing sales, feeling completely disconnected from the work, I found myself staying up late writing blog posts. I was excited about creating content in a way that I hadn't been excited about closing deals in months. The more I poured creative energy into this side project, the more I realized how much I was being held back by staying in traditional sales. Every hour I spent trapped in my truck or sitting in appointments were hours I wasn't spending on something that actually mattered to me. Then March hit and everything changed. I made that final payment on the house. A $175,000 mortgage completely eliminated in just 16 months. The moment I hit submit on that last payment, I felt a freedom I'd never experienced before. No more house payment meant my monthly expenses dropped dramatically, which meant my safety net just got about 10 times stronger. From March forward, I went into full preparation mode. I focused hard on building up cash reserves while also pouring every spare minute into developing Roof Money Pro. What started as a weekly blog was evolving into something much bigger. I realized I didn't just want to write about financial strategies. I wanted to create courses, YouTube videos, communities, and coaching programs that could make a real impact on the entire roofing industry. By the time I made the official decision to leave, it wasn't even really a decision anymore. It was the natural conclusion of months of preparation, financial planning, and discovering what actually made me come alive. The first thing I did was something I hadn't done in a while. I took my family on a real vacation. Not one of those fake vacations where you're still answering calls and checking lead counts. I'm talking about a complete disconnect. Beach chairs, ocean waves, and for the first time in years, my phone wasn't glued to my hand answering homeowners' random questions and looking out for the next appointment confirmation. And you know what happened? My body started remembering what it felt like to actually relax. My Garmin watch started showing improvements in everything. Heart rate variability went up, sleep quality improved, stress levels dropped. My body was literally healing from years of high-pressure sales grind. But here's what nobody warns you about when you leave a high-intensity career like roofing sales. Learning how to slow down is harder than learning how to speed up. For 3 years, I was programmed to go full throttle from sunrise to sunset. Suddenly having a flexible schedule felt weird, almost wrong. I caught myself checking my phone for appointment reminders that weren't there. I'd wake up with that familiar sales anxiety, only to remember I didn't have to be in the office first thing in the morning for no reason or contracts to worry about closing. It was like my brain needed time to catch up with my new reality. So I did what any recovering sales addict would do. I created new systems. I started waking up earlier, not for sales calls, but for something completely different. Coffee first, obviously. Some things never change. Then reading. Real books, not just sales and finance stuff. And here's the kicker. I poured the same energy I used to channel into chasing homeowners and closing deals into getting healthy and pushing my physical limits for my upcoming marathon and triathlon races. Because here's what I learned about high performers. We need challenges. Take away the sales pressure and you better replace it with something equally demanding or you'll go crazy. Now let's address the elephant in the room, or in my case, the rhino. Why would someone walk away from multiple six figures in roofing? Have I lost my mind? The answer is simple, but not easy to explain. I realized I had built something bigger than just personal success. I had cracked the code on combining roofing expertise with financial intelligence. Every conversation I had with fellow reps over the years, every success story I witnessed, every financial mistake I saw people make despite earning great money, it all pointed to one massive opportunity. Roofing professionals needed someone who understood both sides of the equation, how to make the money and how to keep it. But here's the thing that made this transition possible, and this is crucial for anyone thinking about making a similar move. I didn't just jump ship without a plan. I had saved up over 3 years of survival expenses. Not 3 months, 3 years. I could literally live off my savings for 36 months without touching a single dollar of new income. And if things got really tight, my wife's modest income could cover our basic expenses because we had already eliminated our biggest monthly payment, the mortgage. This wasn't luck. This was strategic planning meets roofing income meets financial discipline. Most people making 6 figures are still living paycheck to paycheck because they never learned the systems I'm about to share with you. During these first 30 days, I started working on creating what I call the F.E.A.S.T system. It's a complete cash flow management course designed specifically for roofing sales professionals. This isn't some generic financial advice you can find anywhere. This is battle-tested strategies for people who make irregular, commission-based income in a seasonal industry. The F.E.A.S.T system teaches you how to manage the feast or famine cycle that every rep knows too well. How do you budget when your income swings from $30,000 in a great month to about $3,000 in a slow month? How do you build wealth when your industry shuts down for 3 months every winter? These are real problems that need real solutions. Alongside the course development, I committed to creating weekly blog posts and YouTube videos. Not the typical rah-rah motivational stuff you see everywhere, but actual tactical advice based on real experience. I'm talking about the kind of content that would have saved me thousands of dollars and months of trial and error when I was starting out. Every piece of content serves one purpose: to help roofing professionals like you avoid the financial mistakes that are all too common in our industry and accelerate the wealth building strategies that actually work. The biggest lesson from this transition: freedom isn't bought with a single big commission check. Freedom is built through consistent systems applied over time. You can make $50,000 in a month and still be broke if you don't have the right systems in place. I see too many roofing reps making incredible money, but living like they're one bad month away from disaster. They buy the truck, the boat, the bigger house, but they never build the foundation that creates real security. That's not wealth. That's just a prime example of being in the rat race. Going from the shingle samurai to Mike the coach and creator was harder than I expected. For 3 years, my identity was tied to my close rate, my monthly numbers, my ranking on the leaderboard. Suddenly, success looked completely different. Instead of measuring success by contracts signed, I was measuring it by people helped, content created, systems built. It's a mind shift that takes time, patience, and honestly a lot of self-awareness. And here's something nobody tells you about having unlimited time. It can be paralyzing. When you don't have appointments dictating your schedule, you need incredible self-discipline to stay productive. The same drive that made you successful in sales needs to be redirected into your new priorities, or you'll waste the very freedom you worked so hard to create. But there's also incredible joy in this transition. For the first time in 3 years, when I talked to people, I wasn't mentally calculating their roof size or figuring out how to get an appointment. I can just be present with my family, my friends, my wife, without that constant background noise of sales pressure. That alone made every sacrifice worth it. The next 30 days are all about execution. I'm finishing the F.E.A.S.T system modules, creating more in-depth YouTube content, and sticking to my consistent blogging schedule. But more than that, I'm building the systems that will help thousands of roofing professionals take control of their financial futures. I'm also doubling down on the marathon and triathlon training. Peak physical performance directly correlates to peak mental performance. And if I'm going to serve the roofing community at the highest level, I need to be operating at my personal best. Most importantly, I'm staying intentional about family time. One of the biggest reasons I left roofing sales was to be more present with the people who matter most. Success means nothing if you sacrifice your relationships to achieve it. The goal is to build something sustainable that creates value for others while allowing me to be the husband and future father I want to be. Here's what I want you to understand from my story. The reason I could make this transition wasn't because I got lucky or because I'm somehow special. It's because roofing sales gave me the financial foundation to take calculated risks. Every commission check I earned in roofing wasn't just money. It was freedom being accumulated $1 at a time, but only because I had the systems in place to maximize, protect, and multiply that money. Am I nervous about what's ahead? Absolutely. Starting something new always comes with uncertainty. But I'm also more excited than I have been in years because I know I'm building something that matters. I'm helping people who are exactly where I was 3 years ago. talented, hardworking, making good money, but lacking the clarity or financial systems to turn that money into lasting wealth. Most of all, I'm grateful. Grateful for the roofing industry that gave me the opportunity to transform my financial life. Grateful for the challenges that forced me to develop systems and discipline. Grateful for the success that created options. And grateful for the chance to share what I've learned with people who can benefit from it. If you're a roofing sales professional who wants to win with money and maximize your career, your journey starts now. Whether you're just getting started in roofing or you're crushing it but want to build something bigger, the principles I'm sharing through Roof Money Pro can change your trajectory. The first 30 days after leaving roofing sales taught me that transitions are hard, but they're also where the real magic happens. They force you to examine what you built, what you want to build next, and whether you have the systems in place to make it happen. I'm just getting started with Roof Money Pro, and if you want to follow along with this journey, if you want to learn the systems that made this transition possible, then you know what to do. Subscribe to this channel because the best content is still coming. See you in the next video.